At exactly 5:03 a.m., the knock landed on my door like a verdict I hadn't known I was waiting for, slow and controlled, not desperate, not loud, but heavy enough to reach somewhere deep in my chest. The kind of knock that tells you the person on the other side has already lost something important and is now standing at the edge of losing more. I remember standing there in the dim hallway of my apartment, barefoot, heart thudding too fast, my mind racing through every possibility. Police, bad news, a mistake, never once imagining the truth. When I opened the door, the world shifted. Standing there was Elena Cross, my CEO, the most powerful woman in the company, the woman whose signature could change lives with a stroke of ink, whose presence made rooms straighten their backs. But the woman in front of me didn't look powerful. She looked dismantled. Her hair was loose and uneven, her eyes swollen but dry, like she'd already cried herself empty. Her coat hung on her shoulders like she hadn't noticed the cold. She stared at me for a long second, as if making sure I was real, and then she said my name. Not firmly, not confidently, but softly, like saying it out loud was the last thing keeping her from falling apart. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. That sentence changed everything. She didn't wait for permission. She stepped inside, the door closing behind her with a quiet finality that felt symbolic even then. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too modest, too ordinary for someone like her. Yet somehow it was exactly where she belonged in that moment. She stood there, unsure of where to put her hands, her gaze moving around the room as if she were cataloging the life of a man she barely knew outside of spreadsheets and meetings. I wanted to ask 100 questions, but none of them felt safe to say out loud. Instead, I offered her water. She nodded once, barely. When she sat on my couch, shoulders slumping, something in her cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, the way foundations do before buildings collapse. "My divorce was finalized tonight," she said, staring at the floor. "Or this morning, I guess." She let out a short, humorless breath. 20 years reduced to signatures and polite handshakes. She paused, then added, "I walked out of that house and realized I didn't have a home anymore. I didn't interrupt. People like her weren't used to being listened to without an agenda. Everyone expects me to be fine," she continued. "Strong, strategic, untouched." Her fingers curled into the fabric of her coat. "But I'm not. And if I went anywhere else, they'd see it." She looked up at me then, really looked at me, and I felt exposed in a way I never had before. "You don't look at me like they do," she said. "You never have." My mouth went dry because she was right, and I didn't know how she knew. I had always seen her as more than the role. Seen the long nights, the quiet restraint, the loneliness that success doesn't cure. I thought it was invisible. "You look at me like I'm a person," she went on. "And tonight, I needed that more than power, more than money, more than pride." Then she said the words that flipped my world on its head. "I think my life has been built on the wrong foundations," she said, "and I don't know how to stand without them." She swallowed. "I need someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth. Someone who won't disappear when I'm not untouchable." Her voice dropped to almost nothing. "I need you. If you're still watching this story unfold, subscribe now, because this moment, the quiet ones no one sees, are where destinies break and reform." She stayed until the sun began to rise, the light slowly bleeding into the room like a confession neither of us could take back. She didn't touch me. I didn't move closer. The tension between us wasn't romantic. It was heavier than that. It was two lives colliding at a point of no return. When she finally leaned back and closed her eyes, exhaustion overtaking adrenaline, I realized something terrifying. Letting her in wasn't the risky part. What came next was, because once someone like her chooses you, not as an employee, not as a convenience, but as a witness, you never go back to being ordinary. And neither did I. By the time the city woke up, my life was already unrecognizable. Elena left my apartment just after sunrise, standing at the door longer than necessary, her hand hovering on the handle as if she knew the moment she stepped outside, the world would reclaim her. "Whatever happens today," she said quietly, not meeting my eyes, "remember that you didn't imagine last night, I came because I chose you. Then she was gone, heels clicking down the hallway like punctuation at the end of a sentence I didn't yet understand. I went to work as usual, but nothing felt usual. Conversations stopped when I walked by. Emails went unanswered. By mid-morning, the news broke. CEO Elena Cross announces temporary step back amid personal changes. The headline was polite. The reality was chaos. And somehow every glance, every whisper, every sideways look pointed toward me at noon. I was summoned to the executive floor, a place I had only ever visited with permission and purpose. This time there was neither. The boardroom felt colder than usual, the air thick with suspicion. Before anyone could accuse me outright, Elena walked in, composed, immaculate, untouchable again. If I hadn't seen her at 5 a.m., I would have believed the illusion. She addressed the room with ruthless clarity, announcing structural changes, leadership shifts, and accountability measures that left even seasoned executives stunned. Then she did something no one expected. She looked directly at me. "He stays," she said, "and his role expands." The silence was violent. In that moment, I became visible in the most dangerous way possible. After the meeting, she stopped me in the hallway. "They'll test you now," she said. "They'll try to break you, undermine you, isolate you." Her gaze softened. "If you want to walk away, I'll protect you." I didn't answer immediately. I thought about the quiet knock, the truth in her voice, the way she trusted me when she had no reason to. "If I walk away," I said finally, "I'll lose myself." She nodded once, like she'd already known my answer. From that day on, nothing was handed to me. Every success was questioned, every mistake magnified. But something inside me hardened, not with bitterness, but with purpose. Weeks passed. Elena rebuilt the company like a woman with nothing left to lose and everything left to prove. I watched her lead not with fear, but with honesty. And in the spaces between late nights and quiet conversations, something deeper grew. Not romance, not dependency, but respect forged in truth. One night, long after the office emptied, she stood by the window and said, "My divorce didn't break me, it revealed me." Then she looked at me and added, "You did the same." I understood then. Some people don't enter your life to stay forever. They enter to change the direction of your soul. If the story is hitting you, if you've ever stood at a crossroads where comfort battled courage, subscribe to the channel. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're reminders that the moments that scare us most are often the ones that define us. Because that knock at 5 a.m. didn't just change my career, it changed who I dared to become.